The quickest way to get smarter is to upgrade how you take in information. It's learning how to learn. In this video, I'm going to teach you 5 brain hacks born from real life experience. As a practicing board certified physician with 3 Ivy League degrees, this is the exact blueprint of practical techniques I use literally each and every day. Incorporate these into your life and you too can tap into your brain's fullest potential, transforming it into a veritable, unstoppable, stone cold learning machine. When a spider wants to tack down a fly, what does it do? Exactly, it shoots sticky goo out of its butthole. To keep what you learn, do the same thing. What's the first thing you forget when meeting someone for the first time? Their name, right? You have no threads, memories, or connections tacking it down. From your point of view, the dude didn't even exist a few seconds ago. What's the last thing you forget when meeting someone for the first time? Your name. That baby's tacked down with a bajillion memories and associations. It's probably the first thing you ever learned. Everything you know about this world leads back to you at the center of it. This is fundamentally how your brain works. It's just a giant spider web of brain connections. If you don't tack it down, it's going to disappear. The first way to tack it down is with a concept called borrowing. Take what you know and borrow it to help learn what you don't. It's costly and time consuming to reinvent the wheel from scratch, but much faster if you already own tires and spokes. Learning 1 + 1 = 2 for the very first time is hard, but once you have addition down, multiplication becomes easy. Don't memorize it, just realize it's more efficient addition. After you have multiplication down, exponents come easy too. Just multiplication on steroids. Here's another example. Acute mesenteric ischemia. Sounds like gibberish, right? Let's borrow what you know. The concept of a heart attack is pretty well known. Acute mesenteric ischemia is like getting a heart attack, but in your intestines. There you go, much clearer now. Relate and connect everything you learn to what's already in your warehouse. When you do this, you build brain bridges, literal brain connections between working memory and long-term memory. Plug what you learn directly into where you want it to go. Long-term memory. You can't get more efficient than this. Second way to tack it down is called Nike. Just do it. It's that don't just sit there and learn, it's go do something with it principle. Whatever you learn, whatever is sitting in your working memory, get it off its butt and put it to work. Don't let it live rent-free in your head. Apply it, implement it, take action. Going back to our initial example, you just learned the dude's name is Bob. First thing out of your mouth afterwards should literally be his name. Use it immediately. Just scream it out before you forget. The louder you shout it out, the longer the awkward silence that comes afterwards. An awkward pause in the situation is actually perfect because 1, it kills the small talk no one cares about, and 2, it gives your brain more time to process Bob's name, so then you can shout it out later to help it really stick. All jokes aside, there's no better way to tack something down in your brain than pushing all 86 billion neurons to fire and move because of it. It tells your brain that yes, this thing is important. Make space for it. Remember it. It's riled up the big boss upstairs so much that he or she is moving the entire darn ship because of it. I call it the before and after method. There's the old you, the before you that didn't know, and then there's the new you, the after you that now does have this new piece of knowledge. The more you take action, the more you let it transform you. Because think about it, if the before you and the after you are pretty much indistinguishable, then what was the point? You pretty much just wasted your time. School has made us all passive learners. Your purpose when learning is not to be a scholar, it's not to take tests, it's to solve real problems, to improve your life in some measurable way. And so, if you aren't going to put that knowledge into immediate action while it's still fresh, piping hot from the oven, you're even less likely to do so later when you barely remember it. You can't learn to ride a bike by reading about it after all. At some point in time, you just have to get on. The feedback you get from failing is going to be 10 times more valuable than reviewing the theoretical constructs of how to bicycle for the 30th time in a row. What does that mean for more abstract things? If it's math, it's doing actual problems, and not just easy plug and chug ones. It's the problems you've never seen before, problems that make you think, ones you have to seriously puzzle through. If it's a subject without practice problems, get to work another way. Teach it to Bob when you see him. Write Bob weekly letters detailing the concepts learned in tiny bite-sized installments. See if you can expand the concept in a new direction with new insights, and when you do, don't forget to tell Bob all about it. Third way to tag something down is called the creature. There's an old fable with 5 blind men stuck in a dark room with a mysterious creature. Trying to figure out what it is, they tell each other what they think. One man says, "Feels like thick tree trunks." Another says it's a soft, leathery fan. A third says it's a round sword made of porcelain. If it isn't apparent already, you are the blind man in this fable. Pawing gingerly at some mysterious creature in the dark is often what learning something new feels like. The lesson is simple. You won't be able to figure it out from one perspective only. To truly understand what's in front of you, you need to become all 5 men. 5 different angles, 5 different perspectives. Study the creature in 5 different ways before coming up with any conclusions. Not only does each iteration give you better understanding, each iteration is yet another spiderweb, another memory or association tacking it down. As we've discussed in this video, your brain is a pattern recognition super machine. The richer the data you feed it, the faster you'll learn. That's why if you really want to learn a language, living somewhere where you must speak it to survive is one of the best ways to do so. Each day is a living, breathing, rich tapestry of a million spider threads. Seeing how the language is used brings the vocabulary to life in a way a static classroom could never replicate. You hear the same words spoken in different contexts, by different people, in different environments. These are all the different sides of the elephant. That's how babies learn languages, right? Complete immersion. In other words, live with your elephant. Don't leave the room until you've groped every last inch of the poor guy. Recently, I've been incorporating this learning method with short form. Before I read a book, I always check out short form to prime my brain first. They have books on how to learn, how to do more with your time, even how to become your best self. Think of short form as your insanely smart friend who's read almost everything out there. Not only does it give you a comprehensive summary and guide on what the book is all about, he'll bring in relevant connections from other books too, which is awesome because you get insights you otherwise never would have had. The key to deep learning. A big part of my YouTube inspiration came from reading Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. Short form's clutch exercises after the book guide helped me apply what I just learned, which in this case was about writing down not only specific goals, but the daily habits that make it happen. Short form drops new book guides and articles every week based on what you vote for. Check it out with the link below and get a free trial and 20% off your annual subscription. Thank you to Shortform for sponsoring this video. Fourth type of spider thread is emotion. This is probably the fastest shortcut to remembering anything. Happiness, fear, sadness, terrible gut-wrenching embarrassment. Doesn't matter what it is. Emotion is what tells your brain to pay attention. That's why people love stories. No one wants to hear a story about a guy working a boring 9-to-5 job every day for the rest of his stupid life, but a story of how he found his courage, punched his boss in the face, held him hostage for ransom money, orchestrated a dramatic office mutiny, and won over the hearts of the rank and file with promises of Taco Tuesdays and daily stale office coffee too. Wow, can you see the dollar signs already? Where's Netflix at? I mean, think about it. Even in your own personal life, how many separate occasions of you eating a ham sandwich can you remember? It's hard because eating a ham sandwich is undoubtedly boring. If you want to remember a particular encounter with a ham sandwich, make it unexpectedly interesting. Add a few jalapenos in there. Eat it in the nude while sunbathing in the middle of Times Square. That's what emotion is, mental spice. There are a few ways to make learning exciting. First is to use your imagination. When I was learning organic chemistry, the bane of every pre-med student's existence, I'd imagine the convoluted benzene rings as giant Death Stars. The little electrons were just proton torpedoes flying around, and all the stupid rules you had to memorize about where or how these electrons could move were just rules of some esoteric game I was playing. Second is to use your ego. During my residency, I worked with some very prickly supervising doctors. Not knowing the answer to their question or being made to feel stupid felt terrible, but it did present an interesting learning opportunity. The motivation to not be in that situation again supercharged my learning of that topic. I'm not saying to, purposefully choose toxic learning environments, but if you do find yourself in one, focus in on the silver linings. You can also use your ego in more healthy ways. For example, definitely raise your hand and ask that stupid question. The fact you put yourself out there ensures whatever you learn next will be branded into your brain. Same goes with honest feedback. It's uncomfortable to hear, but whatever comes next will for sure stay with you. possibly even for the rest of your life. Bottom line is this: ego is a very powerful motivator. Put it on the chopping block. Whatever you want to learn quickly, learn it with your ego on the line. Easiest way to involve ego is to do things in public. Practice in public, learn in public, make mistakes publicly, fail publicly. The risk to your ego will make the subsequent memory formed that much more powerful. Third is to make use of the warm, fuzzy feeling of friendship. Study with a friend, study with a fuzzy dog in your lap, study with a friend and a fuzzy dog in your lap. If you don't have friends, don't worry. There's plenty of people out there in the same boat, trying to learn the same thing. Why not seek them out? Connect and form a community. In today's globally connected world, learning does not have to be a lonely, isolating experience. Tackle the lessons together, teach one another. Medical school was so much better when you have a cohort of people to share your sorrows with. That's the power of community. Speaking of which, I'm launching a weekly newsletter inspired by this very idea. I want to build an avenue for more informal, regular communication. I want people with similar interests to connect, study, and grow together. Here, we'll share bite-sized, digestible productivity tips and fun ways to keep each other accountable. I'll probably use this as a vehicle to solicit feedback from you guys on the regular as well. Anyway, if that sounds interesting, sign up down below and I'll see you on the other side. The final spider thread is environment. The environment you learn something in is actually very important. It's a cue or trigger that gets unconsciously associated with what you learn. If you constantly learn in the same room, that's the equivalent of eating the same ham sandwich over and over again. In other words, they're all going to blend together. A simple way to make a sandwich stand out is to change the venue where you eat it. A sandwich you loudly eat in the library is going to stand out from the one you eat in the back of a dark alleyway, different from the one you eat marooned on an island, and different from the one you eat inside Keanu Reeves' house. This is the theory of contextual variation. One caveat to this is if you're taking a test and want the best test score possible. If that's the case, the best place to study is where you'll take the test, because it takes advantage of context-dependent memory. Where you learn something is where you'll remember it. However, this is not practical, and you should really be learning beyond the purposes of a test anyway. If you want a versatile tool that works in as many environments as possible, it should naturally be built and learned in as many environments as possible. The more contextual triggers you have, the more flexible and adaptable the information becomes. Furthermore, the more likely you'll remember to use it, especially when in a completely new environment, like Bob's basement. A study by Megan Amundo in the Journal of Experimental Psychology echoes these findings. Participants studied either in the same place twice or in two different locations once, each before taking a memory-based test. Those who studied the material in two different locations performed better than those who only studied in one location. An article published in Nature echoes these findings and argues that new environments induce a temporary dopaminergic surge that triggers your brain to form new memories. It argues you are more likely to remember the breakfast you had on holiday compared to the breakfast you ate at home the next day, despite both happening literally just one day apart. The familiar environment at home renders things forgettable, while being somewhere new supercharges your brain's memory centers. They argue there may be an evolutionary reason for this. Your brain naturally goes into learning mode when in a new environment, because you never know where that giant bear may be lurking, waiting to chew on your face. In summary, the way to become smarter immediately is to use these 5 brain hacks to upgrade your brain. First is to borrow what you already know. Connect everything somehow to what you've already learned. Don't reinvent the wheel. Second is to immediately use what you learn. Don't let it just sit there as book knowledge. Transform it into applied knowledge. Only by actively implementing everything you learn will it truly transform you. Third is to learn everything from more than just one perspective. Feed your supercomputer brain a fuller, richer data set before you draw conclusions. Fourth is to use the power of emotions in your learning. Stories, imagination, games, ego, community, possibilities are endless. Fifth is to change your environment for more varied contextual associations. At any rate, I hope this video gave you some actionable advice. If you want ideas and stories just like this delivered to your inbox, sign up for my Substack and get some digestible productivity tips sent your way today. If you want your very own custom-made character doodle to be part of all future video scenes I draw, then become a Patreon member. You can be yourself, a dog, or even a rock. Possibilities are endless. And finally, as always, best way to support the channel is to subscribe. Go tell your friends, your grandma, and your pet hamster. Smell you later.